私この話の続き知ってます。娘は最後には青ひげを殺してしまうんです。
Hello everyone, and welcome to the JLR Podcast Network. It is time for another episode of What's This? This time around, I have two of my friends joining me. They've both been on previous episodes, Egill.
Hello.
And Geir.
Hey.
Nice. So finally, it's not a duet, it's a trio. So, boo. Anyways, so in this episode, as I've said before, one of us introduces a film to the other, or to the others in this case, and afterwards we watch the film and then talk about it later on in the podcast. So this time around, it's my turn again to introduce a film, and I'm gonna introduce not to only one of you, obviously, it's to both of you, Kate and Ed. So,
Yeah.
Shall I just? Oh, all right. I'll just tell you straight away. The film that I want you two guys to see is a Japanese horror film called Cure. Not The Cure, but just Cure. For some reason, I found another link to the film, and it said The Cure, but the official name is Cure, and you can see it on the IMDb page. It's in the Japanese version, it's Cure. So, but yeah, Japanese horror film since. What was it, 1997? Released 1997, but I saw it for the first time in 2011, and that was in Japan, and I had been in Japan for maybe 2-3 months, if that, not longer. It was part of the it was actually part of a class that I took about Japanese films and animation. And this teacher, we were basically watching films and then writing our reviews about them. And yeah, this was one of those films, Cure, a horror film. And you probably want to know why I want to introduce this film to you.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so.
Yes.
No, the main reason is because I remember watching that film and just getting creeped out by the idea of living in Japan. Just all of a sudden, I was just having really serious doubts, like, can I really stay in this society? What if something like that happens?
How long had you been in Japan before you watched this movie?
Like I said, it was maybe 2 or 3 months.
Oh, okay. So very early.
Because it was during the first semester, which was from October until March or March or April. Yeah, no, March. Yeah, and so that, I mean, and it was definitely, it was not one of the later films. It was one of the first films that we saw. That means it must have been November, December, maybe January, somewhere around there. But and maybe it was December. I think so, because it's kind of cold during that period. And I think I saw it then. And the main reason why I want you guys to see this film is because it, like I said, it had that really drastic effect on me about like living in Japan and being in Japan right after I saw that film. But I think it might not work for you. It might not have the same effect. So I'm really curious. Will you actually see this film and get freaked out, even though you're far away from Japan, or will you just look at that film and it's like, yeah, just another Japanese horror film, nothing to worry about. So it might play a big part in this, but it's an interesting experiment to see how you react to a film that happens to a place far away from you, rather than, or also it would be curious to know if you were really able to understand my position, like if you would see this film and think with yourself, wow, if I would have seen that film in Japan, that probably would have freaked me even more out. So, or maybe you'll just get freaked out and it's like, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, you'll get freaked out.
So it is like, because of the way you're describing it, it is specifically about like a Japanese well, because like there are horror movies that are location based, or like that have to do with local folklore and stuff like that. Is it sort of that sort of based, or like, obviously if it's a spoiler, don't answer it. But it's like, I mean, very tied to Japanese culture.
I mean, I'll just say yes and no. I think there are Japanese elements, but I think you could make that film anywhere else.
I don't think it's going to be a problem for me because, for example, I haven't been to space, but the movie Alien still creeped me out. So that's.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, obviously, there are some seriously weird characters, and if they really creep you out, then maybe it doesn't matter that they are Japanese or not. I mean, so maybe, that might actually be a good point. If we've never been to, I've never really swam in the ocean. Well, maybe when I was a little, but I mean, just the thought of going somewhere in the deep blue after seeing Jaws is pretty frightening. So, yeah.
Well, I'm very curious about it because I know that from my experience, like Japanese horror video games are usually a lot more scary and a lot more interesting than Western horror games. So I'm very curious of how, watching a Japanese horror movie and seeing. It's always like interesting to see like the similarities. It's like what is universal about horror, and then also seeing like what is unique about Japanese horror versus like Western style horror.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because actually what happened later on, as I lived in Japan, I started to really look at those 90s Japanese horror films, and I thought, wow, this was really the golden age for Japanese horror films and just horror films in general. Like they were just like by hits, basically. They're obviously the one that became worldwide known was Ringu, and obviously that was remade into The Ring. And I saw the Japanese version maybe 5 years ago, and I thought to myself, oh, if only I could have seen that version before the Hollywood remake. it probably would have been a much better experiment. Because I saw the things that in that film that was like, yeah, that would have worked much better than in that stupid remake. But then there are films like, there's a film called Audition, and I'm not even gonna suggest that one because that's nothing to do with living in Japan, but it's just vile. It's a vile film. But if you're interested, you might also want to check that one out. And the list goes on and on, but this one kind of stood out because of the effect it had on me, and also like I said, I really want to see if it works the same for you or not, because I kind of want to, we've now had 3 films so far, and we've all loved it in the end. In my case, you've introduced two films to me, and I really liked them, and I introduced the film to you, Ed, and you really liked it. So I'm kind of taking a risk, I suppose. Maybe challenge, like putting a bit, putting a challenge on it, as in presenting you to a film that might not have the same effect on you as it did to me. But you never know.
Also, this is a horror movie and not a sort of a comedy
we were 3 episodes in, and we're all basically choosing comic films with really stupid plots or really silly scenes. I mean, but they're all great. But I thought we should try something else, and why not horror genre?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for me because usually, like, my general wimpiness makes it so that I stay away from any type of horror except for the classic horror that I accidentally saw from underneath the couch when I was little. So, for example, I will watch The Thing again and again and again because it's just nostalgic and brilliant for me. But I never really seek things out. Even like back in the old days when you would go and rent a film, like back in the Stone Age when you actually like physically walk and get a copy of it. I would never get a horror film.
When you rent VHS.
Yeah, it's just never been my cup of tea to watch something scary. But then again, there are some that I really enjoy, and I think it's just been accidental that I watched it. Maybe this would fall into that category, that I watched this because I'm sort of dragged into it, kicking and screaming. And who knows, maybe horror films will be something that I really enjoy. I think there is, though, a difference that I think I enjoy horror, but I think the modern horror, which maybe you, Johann, you have been mentioning this. You talk about the golden age of like horror, and then there is I don't know. There's just like something that is supposed to be horror, but it's just gross splatter. It doesn't scare me as much as it's like the jump scare. Yeah, and it is just like a lot of jump scares, and it's just really gross and disgusting. That doesn't really do the thing for me. I think the creepiness is something that I enjoy, but I'm pretty sure that just if the movie is just about like how grotesque we can do something, or how often like I can be jump scared, I will probably not like it. But I don't know.
It's an interesting thing that you mentioned, because I'm sort of the same way in that I really like reading about horror and like theorizing like film theory and stuff like that, but I actually don't like, yes, as you say, seek out horror movies. I did, however, there's been a recent trend where I started reading, surprisingly enough, like Japanese horror manga, particularly by artist Junji Ito. And that was sort of the only sort of time when I was seeking out horror content. But like games and movies, I usually I don't seek it out, but I love to hear about it and read about it.
I think
I do enjoy like creepiness in definitely in books, I will easily like go and enjoy like, especially sort of in the sci-fi genre when you have some horror elements to it, and Cthulhu based like books I really enjoy, and sometimes in video games as well. But then again, I think the just like the film as medium for me isn't something that I have been seeking out as much. Maybe because I just consume more books and video games than I do movies, especially these days. So I don't know.
And also there's also that you mentioned about like the modern. I don't know if like the modern horror movie, but there's definitely an element of where it's not about being scary, but it's about being like gross or like mean or like depressing. Where it's not about how scary it is. It's like, oh, look how evil things are, and that's just
Yeah, and how
depressing to
yeah,
watch,
and
or
how
like you just
how depraved everything is, and like
yeah.
yeah.
It seems, it seems it's been more and more after when the Saw films were released back in the day. Yeah, people have tried to, I don't know, copy that formula of a horror film, I suppose.
I don't know where the line is for like when gore goes into like nonsense territory and you start laughing at it, because like if you mentioned The Thing, and like, we also mentioned it when we talked about Big Trouble in Little China, like that movie is both scary and it also has like moments where this is just ridiculous, especially like with monster effects. But I think it's like that underlying, like, you're not really scared of the monsters, it's like the paranoia element.
Yeah.
You know, it's always the subtle things that make the movie creepy, but not like the actual like monster thing. It's the anticipation.
I think you actually hit a very good point there. That's the story has to be horrific and creepy for me, but not just individual scenes that get me. Like I will be more invested in, for example, The Thing, where the premise I find like disturbing, even though, as you say, like the scenes can be even become ridiculous. But when the horror itself is just like one particular scene and the story itself isn't really that creepy or not engaging or something like that, I think that's definitely something that I would judge something. It's more the overall story of being creepy rather than particular scene.
I also think it's funny, Johan, that you mentioned the Ringu and then like the Hollywood remake, and it reminded me of the Silent Hill video game series. Is that they're made by they're published by Konami, and they're made in Japan up until Silent Hill 4, and then they like switched over to like a Western developer, and the change in like mood is so like jarring. It goes from like this very subtle thing to like action horror, and it's just really like if you want like a perfect example of how to do good horror in a video game, but I guess it could some of it could be applied to movies. It's play Silent Hill 2 and then play Silent Hill Homecoming. It's like the opposite side of like, here's a good horror, Silent Hill 2, and then just this bland Western, like you're doing combat roles and fighting monsters. It's so stupid. Yeah.
There's like there's something about the Western culture or the American culture, I suppose. They're not able to catch this creepiness, this creepy theme that's going on. And I'm really glad that you guys that seems to be the type of horror that you like, because I actually think that's probably gonna work well for this film, since it's a pretty damn creepy film. But
I have one question, Johan.
Yeah.
Do you recommend that we watch it on our own, or should me and Geir watch it together and hold each other?
Honestly, I'll let you decide. I mean, you can do it either way. I'm actually gonna watch it by myself just to review it, because I haven't seen it for a while, and I know what it's about. I know what's going to happen, but I wonder if it will scare me again. But just a quick point: the actors are not that known. Only the main lead is a famous actor, Yakusho Koji. He's been in many pretty famous films. He was in what is it, Babel, and then Memoirs of Geisha, and then the year before this film, in 1996, he starred in a film called Shall We Dance? Does that ring a bell?
It does not, sorry.
It was remade in Hollywood with Richard Gere in 2004. What? Yeah, so it's that film was Japanese, Shall We Dance, about a businessman who finally takes a hobby with ballroom dancing, and then Hollywood made another film, made the same film in 2004.
Maybe I don't want to go too long on the time, but maybe that's just a subject that why does Hollywood do that? It's such a weird.
I know.
It's so strange, but maybe we can just at another time we can just go down that rabbit hole.
Obviously, we can choose a film that we can choose a film that's an original that was then remade, and then just talk about it during an episode. Yeah. There's so many Friends comedies that have been remade in Hollywood, and some of them are so much funnier than the original. I mean, I would love to maybe introduce one of them to you one day and just talk about the fact how annoying that Americans don't want to read subtitles and just watch the original stuff. Even British film. They won't watch the British films. They need an American version of the British films. Ridiculous. All right.
Well,
any last? Yes. Sorry, Gage.
I'm definitely looking forward to this, and I think it will be interesting to go a little bit outside my comfort zone and actually watch something like this. And and I'm wondering, is there anything particular that I like? Do you have any? If we watch it together or not? Do you have any tips on maximizing horror experience?
Maximizing the spookiness.
Well, it's always watch the film in a dark room. I guess that's the thing. But that's also maybe you should try to do what I did. Walk by yourself alone during the night, like I had to do, from the university back to the dormitory after seeing that film, and just looking around like, motherfuck. No, I mean, or I don't know. I mean, during the films, just make sure there's no one bothering you. Make sure there's no cat in the room that's gonna jump on something or. All right, but I mean, just watch the film and see how it works for you, and and
it's definitely it's we don't have to worry too much because there are no tourists in Iceland now, so
No
accidentally
Japanese
seeing
tourists,
a Japanese tourist looking for the northern lights, because I think that's one of the creepy things that have happened when I'm driving in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night during winter, and all of a sudden I drive past Japanese people. But they're of course just trying to see the northern lights, but I think maybe this movie will make it so that I don't swerve around and just scream.
Or you try to hit them instead. All right. Any other remarks, Gate?
Nope.
I think.
No.
Yeah, I think I don't want to give anything about the plot. The plot is just, whoa. You'll just see it, okay?
Yeah.
But anyways,
no, I really like. Yeah. I like jumping into movies like this completely blind. I don't want to know anything.
You will have no idea. Well, you'll have some idea what's going on, but then the turns it takes, it's like, what the? Yeah, I won't say anything else. But anyways, all right, we'll just put the podcast on pause, and then when we're back, Egill and Geir will have watched the film, hopefully, and then we'll talk about it with spoilers and everything. So let's put this on pause. Pause. Pause.
Pause.
Pause.
誰かいますね。こっちへ出てきてください。
どこ？
こっちです。
俺ここがどこだかわからないんだ。
来ないならこっちから行けますよ。どこです？出てきなさい。
あんた誰だ？
警察です。
誰？
警察です。
俺の質問の意味分かってる？
あなたにお伺いしたいことがあります。
俺はあんたの話が聞きたい。
こっちが聞いてんだ！ちゃんと答えろ！
あんた誰だ？
どこだ？
誰だっけ？
捜査一課の高村！ふざけんのもいい加減にしろ。
All right, so we are back, but not actually all of us. Geir, who was going to join us for the post viewing, apparently, when he watched the film, he thought it was so scary that he crapped his pants, and he can't. And just he couldn't bear to watch it anymore. So now I'm obviously kidding. Our dear friend Geir, he's having technical issues, which means he will not be able to join the rest of the podcast. So it will just be your reaction and get the review from you. But as usual, spoiler alert.
Oh, look at those spoilers!
Oh,
wow!
look at those crazy spoilers. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about the film in full detail, talk about the plot and everything that happens in it. So if you don't want us to spoil this film for you, then I suggest stop the podcast now, go and watch the film, and if you've watched it, come back and listen to us. But if you don't care about spoilers, then we can just continue with listening. I mean, it's your own goddamn decision. All right, Aid. So before I'll ask you, like I said, I watched the film again, and what I told you guys was I wanted you to watch the film and then maybe think about it a little, like sleep one night at least after you've watched the film. Just, kind of have it in your thoughts for a while before we talk about it. But anyways, I'm expecting any kind of answers from you, but let's see if your answer will surprise me. But your first take, hot take, first impression, what do you think about the film Cure?
So I liked it
Okay.
Remind me, maybe I'm remembering this wrong. Did you say that this is a horror movie or a thriller?
I said it was a horror film because it's under the horror genre. Then again, if compared to what is the norm for a horror film today? That that's kind of a debate as well. But I mean, if you
I would
could
say that
it's just thriller if you want to, but with horror, yes, horror elements, yes. But
I would definitely say that from my perspective, like, I wasn't scared, or like I wouldn't say that I was like frightened, but I was like tense.
I see.
Like watching this movie, but in like the good way. Like it was really suspenseful, and I was always waiting to see what's going to happen. So if you like to give a quick sort of summary, so
Yes.
it happens in Japan, and there's a detective who is investigating a series of strange murders.
Yeah,
and
he's
what
the
they
only
discover-
famous actor in that film. Like I said, he played in Babel and other
Yeah.
famous Japanese films, and that Shall We Dance that became a remake with Richard Gere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And so he's investigating these murders, and what they discover is that there is this person who is hypnotizing people essentially to murder people and cut them up. And then it sort of goes into that sort of like the detective starts interacting with this person who is hypnotizing people, and I guess like it's there's a point in the movie where like he hallucinates or like he sees his wife commit suicide, but then his wife is still alive.
Yeah.
Like for me, like that's all right. Now we've entered unreliable narrator territory. Like now, we as the audience, we cannot be sure of what we're seeing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We're all of a sudden okay. We were kind of. We were
in reality.
We were in reality.
Yeah.
We were following step by step what was going on. But then, I guess, I mean, because our point of view really is the detective in a way, although obviously we have scenes that happen without him in it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's those two guys. It's the detective, and then
the technically, technically not the murderer, because he doesn't.
No. He never murders. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
he just hypnotizes people, and that's kind of the one thing that it's such a strange because a part of me was thinking. I don't like thinking this way, but like a part of me was thinking like, oh, if this was an American movie, like it would be like much like the shot. Like I just want to talk about like, for instance, like the shots in the movie, like the framing.
Yes.
There's a lot of the camera is placed in such a way that both actors are in the scene, so that it's not the kind of thing where you have the person talking and then it cuts to the other person. Like both people are in the scene. It holds on them for a long time and sort of lets them talk and everything. And there's something about the hypnotist. It's really unsettling how he's really calm and he's sort of almost like confused by everything, and he feels like an alien or like a demon.
Yeah.
In a sense, like he feels sort of this like not human like aura around him.
Yeah, the movement, the way he talked, it's just like he was not functional as a human being. But then the thing is that there's so many theories about what really actually happened between him and the detective, but I think it's great. I just want to pick on that point that you mentioned the cinematography. I also thought that would be one of the points that you guys would love about that film. Like, imagine the film Seven, right?
Yeah.
The interrogation scenes, they're close up at the faces, and there's a cut to another face. It's really intense, all these cuts up to the face and stuff like that, and switching between interrogation rooms. That in Cure, the interrogation scene of the guy who killed his wife, the elementary school teacher, that there's just that long scene, the camera far away. There's three of them.
It's one take, right?
Yeah, one take. He's just sitting there, and there are no close-ups to the face, and then all of a sudden he stands up, starts to walk, and the camera slowly moves with him, and now you see other people in the room. You see it's big. It's like it's capturing this moment that's happening, and that I remember that was one of the first scenes that just really took a toll with me, because it was like He knows he killed his wife. He just did it. He talks about it, admits it, and then he kind of realizes, I killed her, and he breaks down and becomes, he just becomes insane, right? And just
he just like
and he tries to. I mean, I think what happened when he threw himself out the window, he tried to kill himself then, and then when he was running into the wall, he was trying to kill himself. Because, he realized like what he had done, and he couldn't live with it, right? And just that thought, oh my God, he was able to do that to someone he really loved because he was hypnotized, and that's the first like, I'm getting creeped out by this film.
Yes, exactly. And there's also like the way that the detectives are, or like the way that they're investigating. It's not that overly dramatic way, because like the detective was just like talking very straightforwardly to him, and it's not like oh blah. And as I said, like because of the way the scene is set up, it's just this very calm and very sort of understated discussion about like this horrifying thing.
Yes.
And it sort of makes it a lot more creepy. Then there's the second the murder where the police officer.
Well, wait.
No.
That actually, the elementary school teacher. That was the second murder in the film. The first one as
that's
what do
during
you think of the opening scene of the film? You have that really kind of weird, jolly music. And then just all of a sudden, he's just hitting this prostitute with the pipe, the water pipe, and
and you see that, and that's like that's your introduction.
Yes,
it's like, all right, what's going on? Then like he's taking a shower, and there's blood everywhere, and then they go to like they're gonna go look for the person.
Yes.
And then it's like, all right, is this gonna be? Is there gonna be like a murder mystery? But no, they find the guy like in the same scene as
basically
he's hiding.
He's hiding somewhere. I think it's like into the ventilation system or something, or
Well, and he's freaked out.
Yeah, he's just there naked by himself, like. But he recalls what happened and why and what he did, and then he's like, he just can't believe he did it, right? But remembers it and says he did it. So and then we had the elementary school teacher, right? And that's when we actually see also, I guess, the real perpetrator.
Miyama? Did he call himself?
Yeah.
Because we actually never know his real name in the movie.
Well, we do, because we find out.
They find his apartment. Yeah.
And I mean, we'll come to that point maybe later about him and his existence. But and we finally see Mamiya the first time there. Although we didn't really see how. We just saw he lit a fire, but nothing else happened, right? We didn't really see him in action that way, right? But then we got a glimpse of it at the police box. It's not a police station. It's a.
I guess that's a sort of a Japanese. It's not a thing in Iceland.
Thing. Yeah, it's called a koban.
So it's not a police station. It's more like just like a tiny, like a police outpost or something.
Honestly, it's not. It's kind of an outpost. It's like within the neighborhood, maybe a small neighborhood. You just have like 2 police officers there that are going around patrolling the neighborhood, and if anyone has any problem, they can go to the koban. Like there's a koban near where I live, so it's always there's always.
So it's like a localized mini police station.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I mean, an outpost, a patrol station, or something like that.
Yeah, so every time they find Miyama, who is the hypnotist.
Yeah.
There's like they find him in a strange scenario, and like he claims that he doesn't remember.
Yes.
And I'm still not sure. Like if that's like him lying, or if he honestly does not remember what he's doing.
You're making a very interesting point, because there is something about him finding the detective being worthy of having a conversation with. Like, he seems to find him. He's like, he said something during one of the interrogations, like he's been the one he's kind of been looking for, and he's different. Like, he's not like the others. And at that point, it seems like he's no longer suffering any amnesia. Right? Yeah. So it might be completely an act, because the way he like completely stops, like immediately asks, "Wait, who are you again? Where am I?" And in that lazy way he says it, it doesn't really seem authentic, does it? But then again, nothing about that character is normal. So,
no.
Nothing
And like
at all.
that actor did like this fantastic job, and also because it's really because he doesn't, like, on his own, he doesn't look threatening, he doesn't look creepy, but just the way he acts, the way he talks, and it's almost like you're almost getting annoyed, because like it's like so repetitive and like slow. But then then like you see him, like, you know, with a light or with a water, and it's like, as I said, like this unnatural sort of aura about him.
That so I remember saying, I said to the detective that that actor Koji Yakusho was like the only really famous actor from the film. I mean, that guy who played what's his name?
Miyama?
Yeah. Well, the actor is Masato Hagiwara. He actually he had some films in the 90s. Cure being probably the most famous one, but then he like did animation and something else, some TV show.
So like voice acting.
Yeah, it seems that way. So like I said, like, he is not as famous as the other one. So I mean, like, the legacy of the of this film, like, it's only really that one actor that it's I guess, you know, who is still famous and in a lot of films, but definitely that performance by Masato Hagiwara was really good. Like, I mean, it's that saying the things without saying them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
The way he walked around, the way he kind of
and like every time like, because of the camera, because like this is like, I think this is like 101 for like suspense. The longer you hold a shot, the more like tense you can get. So every time, like, especially like during those interrogations where like people are just walking around, and like that's when I was like on the edge of my seat, because I'm like, all right, what's gonna happen? This is so unnerving. This is so uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, I guess it's like a small distinction between like being tense and being afraid.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, being tense. I mean, are you being tense because you're kind of feeling creeped out about it, or are you being tense because you think something might all of a sudden occur?
I think it's a mixture of like creeped out, or like this sense of dread, and like what's gonna happen, like,
because
something
things are not going well. Yeah.
You could
say it that way. I mean, so I mean, the thing that maybe really creeped me out the most, so like I said, you maybe weren't that afraid of the film. Like, I mean, when you went to sleep, did you really think about it that much afterwards, or?
No, I just thought it was like a super interesting. So I want to say, like, well, because we said spoilers there. So the way it ends, or like essentially the detective, he like kills the hypnotist, we don't know exactly. We don't know if the case is officially solved, and it ends on this scene of him in a restaurant, and then like he walks away, and the camera sort of follows the scene, and then like you see the waitress, she like picks up a knife and walks
in a very weird manner,
sort of trance-like way.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like an implication of like that this hypnotism murder thing has transferred to the detective or something like that. Obviously, I imagine you can interpret it in many ways, but it seems that the movie ends and the murders are unresolved, or like we haven't.
It's not a good ending, right?
No, exactly.
Not at all.
It's not a good ending. So, and I don't like some people might be upset that there's no like conclusion, but I don't mind that sort of ending, especially for this kind of movie.
Yeah, and I mean, if you like some people want to have things, kind of force feed to them, right?
Yeah.
This is one of those films where you kind of have to determine by yourself what really happened and what actually some of the. I mean, like you said, there's a point in the film where we're kind of going out of reality, the zone of reality, and
like it turns into the concept of unreliable narrator.
Yes.
It's like, all right, now we can't actually trust what we're seeing.
Exactly, and that's the thing about. Well, that's actually what's happening on the side with his wife, which is the first scene in the film.
Oh yeah, I forgot
really
to mention that.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about his wife, but that's kind of the thing about, because she's suffering from some severe. I mean, she's having some mental problems. Yeah,
seems like memory problems, or like she's having like gaps. Or like
it was either gaps or just like mental lapses or something like that. Because there are many of those weird scenes in between, like turning on the what was it, the dryer? No, not the dryer. The
was the air conditioner?
No, not the air conditioner. The no, it's called the dryer, right? Not the washing machine, but
the dryer.
The dryer, yeah. She was always turning on the dryer with nothing in it, right? And then he would always have to stand up and turn it off. And there were some days when she was good, she was able to make, cook for him a nice meal, but then there were days where just there was a raw steak on his plate. And the cups and glasses were upside down. It was like everything was just
Yes.
Yeah, everything was pretty effed up. But that's the thing about her. Like, she is having probably not. She's probably going through things with really like with the way the film evolves, right? It's probably there's a connection there. I think that the way she is experiencing things is like the way we are starting to experience in the second half of the film. Like on that bus, right?
Oh yeah.
And you just see the sky in the background. That doesn't make
and
any
it's
sense.
like, and it's not like in the when they're on that bus, it's like they're not trying. They don't show like landmarks or anything. So they're not trying to establish like this is a real bus. Like it seems like a completely just mental idea. Like we're just wherever.
And honestly,
and then there's and also I don't remember the characters' names. His like partner or like his psychologist.
I think was it Fujiwara? Maybe I think.
I think so. Yeah. So the guy who's helping him, who is a detective, and that scene where they are talking together and he's watching this old video because they're like investigating hypnotism because like it's like their only lead. Then you get these like series of small scenes and cuts of him where he's like I guess exploring or something, and then it cuts back to that scene that we're just in, and it's like, and and he looks so confused, and so now like every character that we've been following through the movie is like questioning, like we are questioning what we're seeing, and the characters are also like questioning what's real, or like they seem distressed about it.
Yeah, it seems like everyone has like just to be in the vicinity, within the vicinity of the hypnotizer or the mesmer. I guess he's a mesmerizer. Yeah,
Mesmerizer.
Which that's also quite the thing you to learn about this film. Is Mesmer is basically he's that guy who had the idea of hypnotism before it was kind of recognized. Like it actually.
Well, because because I know for a fact that hypnotism is real.
Yeah.
And it is like there is definitely it is used by like in psychology, and there is a definite like using hypnotism for medicinal, for like medical things. It's also used for like entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
So, and like it would stand to reason that it would maybe like invented in the first time around, and people will, like, what did they say? It's like the concept was invented in the 19th century. And so it was
something even earlier than that, I think.
And it was considered witchcraft or evil spells and stuff like that. So so they're investigating hypnotism because like their main suspect is a hypnotist, and
but and then obviously they found out that he actually was a student at a university learning about this stuff, and then which might have led him to that book that he found about this supposed cult that was there. He mentioned something about that maybe this kind of teachings were banned during the Meiji Restoration.
Restoration.
Restoration. The all of these cults became secret cults, I suppose, and one of them could have been this the cure for the soul, as Mesmer described him himself. That's why the film is named Cure. But everyone who came in touch with that guy or came close to
became weird, essentially.
But even from our great detective, who you said was so calm during the first interrogations, actually Fujiwara was the one who was more like, no wait, was it Makoto? I can't remember now. Damn it! It was either Makoto or Fujiwara. Anyways, so yeah. Even our good detective, who's been so calm during the early investigations, the minute he's in the room with the suspect, right? With
the hypnotist.
Yeah, with Mamiya.
Mamiya.
And, like, he's in the room, he can't find him. Like, he's calling him out. And he's saying, "I'm the detective, where you are, show you where you are." And then he snaps, right? He's really angry. And that's like, whoa, that's the first time we really see him completely lose his cool, right? And the thing is, the scene ends, he never actually found him, right? He just fell down, and then the scene ends, and then all of a sudden we have him in the interrogation room, like they've captured him. In that scene, he never actually found him or caught him. And I wonder if it's a metaphor for, like, are they supposed to be kind of the same guy, but on different sides of things?
There is definitely...
Takabe and Mamiya. Was he talking to Mamiya or was he talking to himself? And then, like, when they're in the interrogation room, you get this shot, right? Again, the cinematography. You get the shot from the back of the head of Mamiya, right? And then when you're looking at Mamiya, you get the shot of the back of the head of Hagabit. Like, they're kind of same hairstyle, almost?
Yeah, they have that. They definitely have the same hairstyle. And there's a lot of scenes, and, like, this is technically, like, I know that, like, in theater, this is, like... something that you should avoid a lot is like there's a lot of scene where the characters actually turn their backs towards the camera. But it actually, and like in those scenes, especially like, you know, then you see like the similarities, like just visually between the two of them. So, but yeah, so like the idea of like, are they like, how are they connected? But none of it is really like concrete. There's no like it's all just mood and feeling, and it's really refreshing to watch that kind of movie.
It's spoon. There's no spoon feeding for you, right? You kind of have to figure these things out yourself, and I mean, like I do think there's something about. Like, one of them is this loyal man, right? And he's good at his job, and he wants to do the right thing. He wants to be righteous.
And he takes care of his wife.
Takes care of his wife. And then there's the scene when he finally opens up to, like, he went to his cell, and he finally just, I don't know. That's the thing. You never really know. Was he actually... at any point hypnotized by Mamiya or not? Like, when he's telling him about his wife and his struggles, like, did he get hypnotized then? Or was it
before?
Or was it before? Was he just losing his mind once again, and just he wanted to just get it out of the way, telling him stuff about himself? Because obviously he thought, okay, he must have talked to the guard, because obviously afterwards he talked to the guard. Did you tell him something about me? And then he said, yeah, he was asking these questions, and he just beats the shit out of him. Yeah, but
and that's also another thing about this movie, where it's like there's a lot of like the violence in this movie is very understated. There's no like insane camera angles or anything like, and it's like it holds these shots. And just this like massive violence just happens like in the scene.
Also, right before that, it's so funny because he opens the cell door, and the detective leaves, and you can see behind him Mamiya is laying on the floor. So you can only imagine he probably smacked him around. And then
exactly.
Really went after the guard. But but obviously he became violent. He all of a sudden, maybe that's also another thing. You think, all these innocent people that murdered their, wives or, coworkers because they were hypnotized. But then again, was there something, because they all had something, they might have something in them that might have made them take the final step. Because remember, he said something about hypnotism. You couldn't hypnotize someone to murder if morally he is against murder,
it's like
right?
So and that sort of plays into the more like creepy aspect in it of like, is it like he's not planting the idea 100%. Like he's like, the idea is already there, and under every normal circumstances no one would do these things, but just doing his hypnotism, then he's taking something that's already there and like putting it to the surface.
Well,
which is like, an extra. There's a concept in psychology. It's called a call to the void. And it's that moment, which I don't know, maybe you've had it, maybe I know that I've had it, but I think like everyone has it. It's like that moment when you realize it's like, I could do something really bad and get away with it, and then you just but you make the decision. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it because that would be evil, but I could. Like it's like I think in like psychology, it's like that realization of like you are capable of evil and cruelty, but it's up to you to like not do that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, maybe like just a hint of something, some idea like that. If he was able to manipulate that, then maybe that was all that he needed. Like, I mean, we still haven't talked about the fourth murder, I suppose, in the film. Obviously, before the film started, they already had like 2 prior murders with the same.
I think it was like it was 2.
Like
then the intro is the third murder.
The first murder in the film, third murder, overall. But the fourth one, obviously. Before that, we finally saw him in action, right? We finally saw the hypnotism from the beginning to the start, and we found out with the doctor, right? And we also found out he didn't need fire; he could also do it with water.
Yeah, but it's a thing of like something in hypnotism, which is like you make a person focus on something. It's like you just get a person to focus on certain things. So like that's why you always see like hypnotists have like a dangling watch, or as he did, like he had a fire. It's like some slight movement, something that you can concentrate on to sort of get you into this like trance-like state.
Yeah,
and we see him. We see him like he starts talking to this doctor. About that.
Yeah, well, he got what he got from her was that. Well, that's the other thing. Is he hypnotizing or is he reading minds? That's the other angle on it. Like, because is it just hypnotism, or is it this so-called energy around the being that they talked about? Is he actually able to read that energy? Because he said, because of he had amnesia. He said he had everything he's completely empty inside, but because he's empty inside, he's able to see everyone else's inside. Yeah, if that makes sense. But
so like the question is like, if that doesn't necessarily need to be like a supernatural thing, because you can have like because there seems to be like some people who are just really observant and can figure out just by watching you, and are just super with logical deductions, can sort of figure out a lot about you just by like observing you for a little while. And this would like what I'm saying, it doesn't need to be like magic. Like that could just be a part of like him being super observant.
Right.
But like we don't know.
We don't really know. We could make that conclusion, but when he did that, he kind of found out that she had that female doctor. We already had a scene with a really annoying patient before, that she might have some problems with men overall, or like she did, like, because they've questioned her for being a doctor, and she didn't mind when she did an autopsy. What was it? He said something about her doing an autopsy on a dead body of a guy. It was
the first naked man she had ever seen.
And that she didn't mind cutting him out. I mean, actually, she liked it. And then obviously, she ends up, there's that thing when he cuts up the face of, basically peels off the face of a guy.
Oh yeah,
men's bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about like that scene, like as I said, like with the violence in the movie, like we get the establishing shot. It's like a public park. There's a public bathroom in the park. And a guy just walks in, and there's just a person like peeling a face off.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah,
and
there's no dramatic music. There's no like super dramatic action, and then it's like, all right, that's the scene.
And notice the pattern: water all over. He was hypnotized by water, and then there was water there. Some guys was hypnotized by fire. Then they looked into the sun, like the police officer looked into the sun, took out his gun and shot the guy, right? So there's, he leaves this trigger in him, I suppose.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to the wife?
I think he probably took her to the mental hospital.
Okay.
But
I'm
not.
Because he might have done that, but then obviously at the mental hospital, sees at the very end, she's I don't know why she's like they're carrying her out hanging or standing, but with the cross in her neck, right? Like all the other victims. So you're wondering, like, did he go there and kill her? Or, remember the scene before the bus scene, there's this split second, he picks up a knife.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, all of a sudden, like, the timeline could also be in question.
Yeah, but but there's also the scene where it's like the both of them on the bus, and then a scene later where it's just him on the bus.
Exactly, yeah. Just
and
him
so
on the bus, yeah.
Whether or not whether the detective killed his wife, or whether that's more symbolic of now, like, he has sort of left her and she's no longer a burden on him.
Yeah.
It's so the fact that there's no guarantee. It could be like I think it's equally possible that it's both. Like, it could be either of those things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's
speechless, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's really possible, but then again, like, he was different than all the other hypnotized people.
Yeah.
So,
but then again, it comes up different. But was he different in the end? Like, because in the end, he got the cross signed on him, and then all of a sudden, he sat down to listen to some tape of from that cult in that weird house.
Yeah.
And there's so many other questions. Like, there's that guy in the window when I think was it Fujiwara that went there to check what happened, and it's like that wasn't explained as well. And there's like I said, there's so many other unexplained scenes that still kind of bother me today. Like, what was it all about? And then again, did he commit suicide or was he killed by the detective? Because he certainly didn't seem surprised that he killed himself. Then again, he probably knew that he had been infected, but instead of wanting to kill someone, he decided to kill himself before he would do something horrible, something horrifying. But the detective, when he was there, like, he killed himself, like, no reaction at all. So you wonder, like, what happened there.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about this film, but we're running out of time. So
yes. It was.
I don't know. Is there
really
any final point or final question like that you have?
I really enjoyed watching Japanese movie. I really enjoyed watching something that was so
no
there
jump
wasn't
scares.
There was no jump scares.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah.
There's
maybe
the tense and like watching something with a different mood, obviously. And also, like, part of me went to, like, thinking about how this is a much more effective way to make a tense or a scary film than a lot of, like, Hollywood things that I've seen recently.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get too much into that now, especially because we're running out of time.
If you comparing to other horror films, would you say this is a successful one then?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That's good.
But as for like like classifying this as a horror movie. Like I don't think it matters. This is a good movie. Like some would say, oh, this is not a horror movie. It's a psychological thriller, or some would say, oh, it's like a thriller with horror elements. Or I don't think it matters. I would say this movie, it can be scary. It's definitely thrilling. It's definitely like, as I said, like I was on the edge of my seat, and I was like, there was a lot of scenes where I was just like waiting for like, oh, something awful is gonna happen.
But it was sneaky that way. Like
it was very
something
sneaky.
eerie, and there was also that was the other thing I didn't mention. The sound. It was not the soundtrack, but let's just like the sounds.
The ambience.
Ambience on the beats. When he turns on the lighter, it's all that.
There are a lot of like sounds in the background. Like not a lot. Not I don't think there's a lot of like music in the game.
Not really. Yeah.
There was a lot of like.
It was just that
like,
weird
when you say,
music
like,
at the beginning, at the end, like kind of like a happy, kind of happy sounding compared to what we just saw.
And then there's like, and then it was like the sound of the background, the sound of everyday life, overlaid with what's the horror of what's going on. So.
And then all these small scenes from everyday life in Japan, like going to the laundry, to the laundrette, and then the guy's waiting for his jacket or something, and he's like cursing the guy out. Oh, what did I do? What the fuck? Here's your jacket. Oh, thank you. Puts on the the polite act immediately, but once he was by himself, all those weird scenes. But
yes,
do you understand now why it freaked me out?
Yes, it definitely captures. It captures the horror of the everyday.
Yeah,
it's like what is hiding just beneath the surface.
I can just say, I mean, okay, obviously, recently just moved to Japan, saw this film. I already maybe had some underlying nervous feelings about living in Japan forever, so this film didn't help.
And also like you're moving away from home, you're in a new place.
Yeah. And then obviously there's Japan is a very safe place, definitely, but there's the occasionally 7 o'clock news, man loses his mind, takes a knife and starts just attacking people at random. That that kind of news, I've seen that before, and like
Yes.
So it reminds me of that film, basically.
And it definitely it plays into like what's lurking just beneath the surface. And you get into that moment of like when you see people, if you go to the store and you see all these and you see all these strangers, and it's like there's a good chance like one person here is like on their like last straw, or like
completely cool.
It's like it's like one bad day away from doing something horrifying or something like that.
Yeah, certainly would. This is there's no question about it. This will be our longest episode so far, but I guess that says a lot about this film. But final verdict, you would say?
I would say it's a very good movie. I recommend it. I discovered it's in its entirety on YouTube. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if it's legal, but it is in its entirety on YouTube, so everyone can go watch it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's really easy to access, I suppose. But and you would recommend it to people?
I would recommend it. I guess like if you don't like, for first off, if you don't like watching movies with subtitles, like you're not gonna be able to appreciate it. If you don't
Americans.
if you don't like movies that are ambiguous, like if you want to clear-cut answers to all the questions posed, you're not gonna enjoy this movie. Otherwise, I'd say this is great, and I recommend it.
All right. We're pretty successful so far with all our film choices. I mean,
we haven't found something that we've like vehemently like disagreed on.
Like I said, I decided to take a chance with this film. Like, okay, I felt really scared when I saw it, but maybe you don't feel as scared or tense about it. But it seemed to have worked for you, and even though you're not here in Japan, so which is great. Like I said, you could maybe make that story anywhere else, but you would lose that Japanese element, like those, the way structures and the people, the culture,
I guess
that kind of thing.
I mean, you would maybe have to like change the everyday life things, but I think you could probably like move this, around to different cultures.
Yeah. Although I do not want to see a remake of this film.
Oh no! Of course not. Of course not. This is fine. Leave it as is.
Leave Cure alone. All right. That's been. I think this has been pretty long, so I think this has been a successful show so far. Too bad Geir
wasn't
able to join us.
Thanks for listening to. What?
I said too bad Geir couldn't join us, but maybe in a future podcast he might join us, and then maybe he might give a short review of the film Cure if he had, see what he thought about it. Maybe next time it will be you introducing a film. I know you've talked about a couple of them, so
I have some ideas.
Yeah, some ideas, and I think we'll find out soon what movie will be next. So anyways, so you've been listening to the podcast episode What's This, which we just reviewed the film Cure, the Japanese horror film from 1997, and stay tuned for more episodes on the JLR podcast network. We will have more What's This episodes and many other funny and interesting stuff, I hope. Yeah. Anyways, until next time, Gate, thanks for... what? Did I say Aid or Gate?
You said Gate. I think you mixed Gate and Aid together.
Great. Aid, thanks for joining me. And
thanks for having me.
No problems, and hope we will, in the future, do another episode soon. All right, until next time, take care.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bebo.